Did you know that the average doctor's visit's around 15 minutes? I'm sure you do if you've been to the doctor anytime recently. That's barely enough time to get out what's wrong, let alone figure out a root cause. But in holistic medicine, we do things differently. So today I'm going to break down why case taking is such a lost art of healthcare and why it's key to truly healing the body. Doctors interrupt their patients within 11 seconds of them speaking, according to the Journal of General Internal Medicine. And 80% of diagnosis could be made just by listening to a detailed health history. Yet most providers rush through this step for a number of reasons. And that was according to Mayo Clinic. Hi, everybody. If you're new to my channel, welcome back. If you're not, my name is Dr. Steele. I'm a board certified naturopathic doctor. I hold 7 degrees in my field. They're all in the natural healthcare space. I like to say that I went to school so you don't have to. And so today we're talking about case taking, the deep and detailed process of understanding a patient's full health history and what you can do to help them. Unlike conventional medicine, they focus tendency on quick symptom management. Holistic case taking really helps us to uncover root causes and create a plan that actually works more long term. I always like to say patients come into my office, jump their lives on my desk, and my job is to organize it. So let's break down why this method is so powerful and why modern medicine has lost it. So the first thing is, what is case taking? Case taking is so much more than what's wrong. It's really about understanding the full picture. So we tend to go beyond symptoms to include lifestyle, emotions, history, environment, mindset, all sorts of things. We ask all sorts of questions, some that may even seem unrelated, because we're trying to help identify patterns that standard lab tests or a quick checkup is going to miss. And that could be patterns in behavior, that could be patterns in mindset, emotional health, physical health, not just our lab test, which is more of our hard science. So let's say, for an example, a patient comes in and they have chronic migraines. Instead of just quickly prescribing a painkiller like a conventional medical doctor would, a holistic provider is going to ask, when did it start? What triggers them? How's your digestion? How's your hydration? How's your sleep? Do you have any past traumas or stressors? Have you been exposed to anything in the past? Are you overworking? Are you overthinking? How much water are you drinking? All of these questions happen, right? And so because we need to find out and figure out in a short period of time really more about you. So case taking is an essential practice in holistic medicine because symptoms are not the root cause. They're just clues. And I know patients will want all of the time, treat this. What about this? What about that? What about that? But that's really not what we do in holistic medicine. Instead, we take a thorough case because we understand that the body systems are truly interconnected. So a deep history is needed to find out what the actual issue may be. This allows us to personalize our care, develop a hypothesis, recommend lab testing, and also to a course of treatment. We want to use more of this personalized approach instead of a one size fit all. So when you come to a provider such as myself, whether you are coming in with the same condition as somebody else or a different one, you're going to be treated differently. 2 diabetes cases are not going to look the same. Why? Because they're 2 different humans. And we don't necessarily term them as diabetes cases, but for you to understand. A patient with anxiety or gut issues might be given separate medications for each condition from their conventional case. And a lot of times I'll see one provider prescribing over here, another prescribing over here, another prescribing over here, and nobody's talking to each other, so there's no oversight. So in professional case taking, we look at all of those things, look at all of the medications, look at their oversight, look at their nutrient deficiencies, look at any kind of interactions that they may have, because we understand the role that these play. We also may reveal that chronic stress may be triggering a lot of gut inflammation, especially if you're taking a lot of synthetic medications. That can definitely trigger a lot of histamine responses in the gut. It can trigger, put more pressure on the liver, all sorts of things. But definitely doesn't help treat your nervous system, which really needed to be regulated when we're dealing with anxiety issues, we're dealing with gut issues. So we would look at your diet, we would look at your lifestyle, we would look at what's actually going on with your system so you can feel, because we know that the gut is personal power, self-love, self-worth, self-acceptance. So any issue, excuse me, in that area, we're going to know, it has a source to it. So there are 5 key elements to effective case taking. So the first thing is we want to look at your timeline mapping. So when did the symptoms start? What was happening in your life at the time? What was going on after that? How old were you? All of those different questions. Your physical symptoms. So how's your digestion? How's your energy? How's your sleep? How's your pain? How's your cycles? How's your immune system function? How's your nervous system function? How much water are you drinking? All of those things. Then your emotional health, your mental health. So your stress levels, how's your mindset? Are you able to stay on task? Are you able to focus? Are you disciplined? Do you have a history of trauma? How's your sleep? How's your emotional triggers? Are you emotionally resilient? Are you able to bounce back, right? And then we look at your lifestyle and your environment. What are your relationships like? What's your diet like? What's your movement like? What's your water like? I know I've asked that a million times, but it's important. What's your toxic exposure? Have you been exposed to mold or lead or heavy metals or whatever? And then finally, what's the patterns and root causes? So what are the connections that all of those things have? So that's why we take a lot of information, because then we can see it overlapping, and we have lots of tools to be able to help. So as an example, let's say a woman is struggling with their weight. They also have fatigue and brain fog, and they've just been dismissed and told they're getting older in conventional medicine, eat better, lose weight, etc. But case taking may reveal that her symptoms started with a major life stressor, and now maybe she's working in a moldy environment and her diet has really shifted, and now she's really feeling sluggish, and the brain fog is coming because the mold is trapped in her liver and she can't lose weight because her metabolic system is affected, and her diet is not well because of course she's got brain fog, she's sluggish, she doesn't feel well. All of these things on and on and on can impact. So how do we shift towards a holistic case taking in your own health? Because in part 3 of Intro to Holistic Medicine, which will start next week, we're going to start taking you on as a case. So you are going to be taking your own health history and your own case and really getting to the root cause of what you need to do. So the first thing is we're going to track our patterns. We're going to keep a journal of symptoms. We're going to look at triggers. We're going to look at lifestyle changes, because we want to make sure that we can see the connections that each of these things have. So we're going to keep a journal to check those symptoms out, to check those triggers out, and to check those lifestyle changes out. Also, we want to work with providers who ask questions beyond the diagnosis. So we want to look at systems, not just your health as an isolated issue. So we don't want to just look at, let's say, this symptom or that symptom. We want to look at your whole body, and anything that you're doing with your whole body, we need to know about, because we naturally are going to be impacting everything in your system. We're not conventional doctors, so we treat the entire person. So we also really encourage patients to advocate for themselves. Ask what's the root cause, not just what's the treatment, or what's your hypothesis, or how did you come to that conclusion? Those are all really valid questions. So as an example, a patient with hormonal imbalances needs to track their mood, needs to track their energy, their sleep, and their cycle patterns, instead of just accepting birth control as a quick fix. And I know in conventional medicine, it's like birth control or hysterectomy. Those are their 2 options. What do we do with these hysterical women? Right, I digress. So we know that there's a lot more that can be done in holistic medicine, and so we really look and work to do that. True healing is not about suppressing symptoms. In fact, it's the exact opposite. It's about understanding your body's story. So it's about you really getting to the root of everything, unpacking these things, and really healing on a deep cellular level. I love the work that I do to help people to really come to their own conclusions about their health. Naturally, I have guardrails on them in the process, but inevitably, they're really unfolding, they're really growing, they're really doing what they need to do in order to heal. So if this resonates with you, go ahead and like, share, subscribe, and comment below. Have you ever had a provider take the time to truly understand your health history? The next step, we're going to dive into depleted, a protocol breakdown, how to identify what your body is missing. So tune in for that.